Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we will design this invoice web page that I gave as a project in the previous video. All right, let's write some code. Let's bring up our code editor. So let's start by adding the table element. So table. Let's bring up our code editor here. So as you can see on the top, we've got two table cells. So invoice something and the date. So let's add that. So to create a row, we need table row. And then to add table headers, we can use th element. So the first one is invoice. So invoice hash 12345 ABC. And the next one is date. So 18 July 2019. So 18th July 2019. All right. So the next one is another row with two table cells. So first for the billing address and second for the customer info. So let's add that. So table row. So let's add some table data cells. So TD, and we need to add this text pay to. So for now, let's just wrap it in a span, and let's say pay to break line because we want the other text to be on the next line. So the tech part again break line 123 Willow Street again break line and Boulevard LA 567892. So 567892. Let's save it. So the next one is customer info. So let's add another table cell. So DD, and again, let's just wrap it in a span for now. So customer, and let's add the details. So John Locke, dummy apartments. John Locke, break line. Dummy apartments, break line. 276 Main Street, Boulevard, LA. So let's add that. So 276 Main Street, break line, Boulevard, LA. Again, same pin code, so 576892. Let's save it. And now let's add this row. So here we've got 4 table cells for name, quantity, MRP, and amount. So let's add those. So let's add another row here, and let's add a table data cell. So which is name slash description. Then we've got quantity. Then we've got MRP. And then we've got price, I believe. Let's just check it. No, it's amount. So the fourth one is amount. Let's save it. Let's run our live server and see what we've built so far. So as you can see, we've got our content here, but it doesn't look like a table. So let's just add some borders. So let's add the stylings here, say style, and let's add some border to our table. So border 1 pixel solid, say black. Let's save it. Similarly, let's add border to our table data cell. And similarly, let's add it for the table headers. And as you can see, we've got these multiple borders, so let's collapse them. So border collapse and collapse. Let's save it. All right, so let's add some padding because our text is very close to the borders. So say padding 8 pixels. Let's save it. Let's also increase the line height, say line height 1.3. Let's save it. All right, so as you can see, our table is in a bit of a shape, but what we need is for the first row, I want the first table cell to span across 3 columns, like this. So let's do it here. So the first one, invoice, needs to span across 3 columns. So column span, 3. Let's save it. So it's looking something like this. Similarly, for second row, we need both the table cells to span across 2 columns. So let's do that. So column span 2. Similarly here, column span 2. Let's save it. And as you can see in the second row, both of our table data cells are spanning across 2 columns. Let's increase the width of the table, say 600 pixels. So table, and let's give it a width, say 600 pixels. Let's save it. And as you can see, it's looking pretty much alike. So now coming to this pay to and customer. So this is a bit bold. So let's add some styles for that. So let's add a class here, say label. Similarly, let's add a class here, say label. Also, after this customer label, we need a break line. Let's save it and let's add the styles. So because it's a class, so dot. Let's give it a font weight, say 600. Let's save it. And as you can see, it's bold. All right. So moving on to the next part, which is these table headings. So in our case, these aren't bold. So let's check. All right. So we will use table data cells, but these should be table headers. So let's change that. Similarly for the closing tags, let's save it. And as you can see now, these are bold and they look like our headings. Also, if you notice, all the text is left aligned in the table. So let's do that. So coming up here, let's say text align left. Let's save it. And as you can see now, all the text is left aligned. So coming to the next section, which is the particulars or the items in the invoice. So let's add those. So for that, we need another row. Let's add some table data cells. So the first one is biryani. The second column would be for the quantity. And third for MRP and amount. So the MRP is 400. So the amount would be 3 into 400, which is 1200. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got our first row. Similarly, let's add the second row. So let's just copy this. So second is chocolate shake. Quantity is 3. The price is 200. So let's make the price 200. So the total would be 3 into 200, which is 600. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got our second row as well. All right, so moving on to the next one. So we've got this subtotal row. So let's add that. So another table row, and this is bold, which means it's a table heading. So let's give it a label. So subtotal colon. And the next table data cell is the amount, total amount. So which is 1200 plus 600, so 1800. So let's use table data cell for that. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've just got 2 items, but the subtotal table cell is spanning across 3 columns. So let's do that. So column span 3, let's save it. And now as you can see, it looks pretty much like this one. All right, so moving on to the next one, which is tags. So let's add another row. So this tags looks like a header, so let's use table headers for this one. So tags, it has got 2 more table cells. One is the percentage and one is the value of that percentage. So table data, say 10%. Then we've got the value of this 10%. So another table data. So 10% of 1800 is 180. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got all the 3 table cells. But this tax table cell is spanning across 2 columns. So let's do that. So let's add the column span property, which is 2. So as you can see, now it's spanning across the 2 columns. So moving on to this last one, which is grand total. So it has 2 table cells, one for the label, one for the amount. So let's add that. So table row. This grand total looks like a table heading, so let's use that. So grand total, then colon, and table data cell for the amount. So 1800 minus 180, which goes around, say, rupees 1620. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got a grand total here. But in the problem statement, the grand total is spanning across 3 columns. So let's do that. So let's use the property column span, say 3. Let's save it. And as you can see, now it's spanning across 3 columns. So our table structure is pretty much the same what we had in the problem statement. Let's add these colors. So the body background has a light bluish color. So let's add that. So let's add the style here, say background color. I've got the hex code here. So F2, F6, FF. Let's save it. And as you can see, it has the same background as the problem statement. Then these table headers, all these table headers have this light blue background. So let's add those as well. So table header, background color, light blue. Let's save it. So we've got the same color. And the table has the background color of white. So let's add that. See background color and white. Let's save it. Coming back here. And we've got all the colors and structure right. Just that we need to move our table in the center, and the border looks a bit different. Okay, so coming back here, let's change the border color. So let's say hash AAA. Let's save it. And as you can see, the border color is almost same now. All right, so let's move this table in the center. So to move table in the center, we can use the property margin auto. So margin left auto and margin right auto. Let's save it. All right, so as you can see, now our table is in the center. So let's compare. Okay, the table seems a bit different. Why is that? Okay, so these values are different. So here we've got 18 July 2019. Here we've got 18th July 2019. So let's change the label. So 18 JUL 2019. Now let's compare. And as you can see, both the tables are identical. So that's all for today, guys. If there's something that you did not understand, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.